Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar. As mentioned, my name is Shannon Lynch, aka the Power BI Coach, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. It's always good when I get to talk about Power BI, even though that's what I do each and every day. You'd think you'd get tired of it, but you actually never get tired of what you love doing. All right, and so it is indeed a pleasure to be with you here on this webinar as we look at the benefits of Power BI. We're going to be looking at Power BI in conjunction with Copilot. All right, so exciting stuff. Looking at how we can pair our data with this new and amazing and emerging technology of AI. All right, so hopefully you gain a lot of insight over the course of the next 60 minutes or so. So we are going to be doing just going through some slides to level set you on the ecosystem, how Power BI integrates with Copilot. We're going to take a look at some of the key things that you need to keep in mind as you begin to leverage data analytics with AI technology as well. Now, before we get into the slides, into the hands-on activity here, which I'll be demonstrating to you, I'd like to just do a quick poll. All right, now I don't have an actual poll, so you're going to have to use the chat. So hopefully you're able to use the chat. But here's the question I'm going to pose here to everyone that's on this live session is how often are you using AI tools today? All right, so how often are you using AI tools today? So one, if you just type one, it means that you have no idea what ChatGPT or Copilot or any of this stuff is, or somewhere in the middle. Maybe you've kind of you're kind of starting to leverage it after thinking that it's going to be like Terminator and exterminate the world. Maybe you see, hey, maybe it can help me send those emails a bit quicker, right? Or help me with certain tasks. Or all the way at the far extreme where it's just like, oh my God, like generative AI and ChatGPT and Gemini and all the other tools out there are, my personal assistant, and they help me to write 90% of my emails now. No judgment, but again, you can see how the workspace is beginning to change. But anyways, let me know in the chat, and I'll just take a quick gander right now. So there's the sort of the gauge. Let's go here. Woo! Look at those numbers. We got 10, 6, 30, 10, 6, 10, 9, 10, 5, 3. So we have a lot of people on the higher, so medium to higher side of usage, right? And we're talking daily, all right? Amazing. It's going to be interesting when I ask this question a year from now, what those numbers look like. Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. I think there's a follow-up question here. Now, follow-up question. What tasks are you using AI tools for? All right. So on a day-to-day or whenever you do engage with AI tools and technologies, what are some of the tasks that you are offloading to an AI companion, so to speak? All right. Let me know. It could be, hey, it helps me to write better or to craft more professional emails, right? Before I send an email that could get me fired, it puts a better tone on it, right? Again, no judgment. We've all been there. So yes, would love to hear what are some of the tasks that you're outsourcing to the AI. Let's see, emails, research. Yep, that's the common go-to. Majority of my emails are, makes me sound better than I am. SOPs. But I also find that I'm like, am I outsourcing my brain here? Like now I'm competing with an AI that writes better than me. So everything I write now just seems so subpar. That's the flip side of it. Preparing quick letters. Yes, exactly. Brainstorming. Absolutely. I think it's a really good tool to help us brainstorm, especially if you're in a creative rut. It's just a great way to springboard, right? Fantastic. Data imports, craft more professional communications. Yes. Summarizing tasks, research. Yes, good, good, good. All right, so some of the common things, right? Primarily just a lot of the more routine tasks that we typically, would like to offload, such as crafting emails and helping us to spark new ideas. All right, very good, everyone. So let's talk about the landscape and what's happening before we dive into the actual meat of the matter and looking at data analytics as it pertains to Copilot specifically and Power BI. So let's take a look here at what's happening from an adoption perspective and how this AI adoption is transforming organizations. All right. So there was a couple of researches done. I'm going to just put up a couple of stats here. So there's been in 2024, again, this is not too long ago, obviously, these numbers have probably shifted, but these is the research that we have. 78% of organizations reported using AI in at least one business function, and that's up 55% in 2023. Right. So if you think about when AI began to really get the highlight, it was right as we're coming out of the pandemic era. And then, tools like ChatGPT started to emerge. All right. So this is kind of where things were. And you can see that there was a pretty rapid adoption. Now, it would be interesting to see what these numbers look like today. Right. You can imagine that they've probably gone up with just the need for more adoption. All right, 92% of companies plan to increase their AI investment, and we're seeing this across the global news agencies and in articles and blog posts that over the next 3 years, signaling a strong commitment to AI integration. All right, now I know that does provide or bring some trepidation for some folks because that's tied to an emotional factor of, what does that mean for my job, right? We're going to talk a little bit about that. From an economic impact, so AI is expected to boost global economical output by 15%, 15% basis points over the next decade, contributing significantly to productivity gains. And we are already seeing this transpire, all right? So needless to say, the AI horse is out the proverbial gate, and there's no way but forward from here. Okay, so what does this mean for those that are using analytical tools? So that's the broad landscape. First of all, let's take a look at what is Power BI. So for those who are familiar with Power BI, this will just serve as a bit of a refresher. But Power BI is a business intelligence tool that enables organizations to analyze and visualize data in a meaningful way. Now, with Power BI, you can easily create dashboards, reports, charts, and share those insights pretty much seamlessly across your organizations and teams. Okay, the three main value propositions, right, when we talk about Power BI is, again, the ability to have a single source of truth for your reporting. So no longer do you have sprawled out reports, or as I call it, Excel hell reports, where everybody has a version of the same Excel report with just a variant of that report. All right. And so this really empowers the organizations to be confident in decision making. It empowers end users to be able to glean insight very quickly. And now you pair that with a tool such as Microsoft Copilot, which is Microsoft's premier AI platform. And when you integrate that capability, you get basically a lot more automation. You get things such as natural language querying of your data. And what this means is rapid adoption. All right. So if you're not a data analyst by trade, it can be a bit intimidating. However, with the onset of Microsoft Copilot's integration with Power BI, it does help with that adoption, and it does allow for a new user group to emerge. And again, once again, it just builds that adoption and confidence to individuals or teams that were more so now dependent on having dedicated analytics or an analytics team to create and to maintain reports. All right, so let's take a look at the actual Copilot workflow as it stands today. Now, I always like to preface that because we are in a very sort of influx stage with Copilot still sort of being in an early stage. All right, so we're still in that early stage of the adoption, and the tool is iteratively being updated. All right, so where we are today is not where we're going to be in 3 months, 6 months, and a year. There's always going to be improvements on the integration. But essentially, the user experience is that Copilot sits inside of what's the sort of broader analytical stack, which is Microsoft Fabric, which is Microsoft's premier all-in-one data analytics solution, not only for data visualization, but for a lot of data engineering and for big data, all right? So all interactions with Copilot and user are basically user-specific. The user can interact with Copilot through Power BI, online, as well as the desktop experience as well. And so Power BI, the Copilot rather, is built on top of what's called the Power BI semantic model. So this is the undergirding data model. So think of it as your data set from whatever system. Maybe you are an HR professional and you're doing HR analytics. You're using Oracle or one of the other Workplace or any one of the other possible HCM softwares. You're able to harness that data into a semantic model that undergirds your Power BI reports, and that is where Copilot is built on top of that. And so you can query information directly from your source data. So Power BI or Copilot with Power BI is not only available in the web space, but also available in the Power BI desktop, as we will see in our demonstration. So a couple of things that you can do is you can ask natural language query. So just like you would in generative AI, ChatGPT, or in Gemini, or any one of the other popular models, you can ask questions directly of your data. You can also create calculations, and this is amazing, especially for those who are not necessarily tech savvy. You are able to query that directly by using natural language. So just by sending a prompt, you can derive additional calculations to enrich your data. You can also create whole reports, right? Generate summaries. And again, you can use it just as a launching point for your report, right? So these are some of the common use cases for Copilot's integration, and it will continue to grow. So as of, I want to say, beginning of the year, somewhere around there, there has been significant gains in terms of the integration more into the Microsoft Fabric analytical stack as a whole with Copilot, right? So this is only going to grow as time goes by. All right, so let's take a look at the different personas that will basically be using Power BI in conjunction with Copilot. So Copilot in Power BI aims to both empower developers and the common user as well. So let's take a look at these three sort of personas in where you can see the various use cases. So there is what we call the enterprise developers. Now, the description for this cohort or group are experienced users, and they're responsible for designing the reports, for designing the data models that support and supply the data for the end reports. And this is typically often where your centralized information technology or IT teams will leverage Copilot in that respect, all right? So a use case would be to create additional measures or to create additional calculated columns that are not natively a part of your data source, okay? The second user persona is what we call the self-serve user. Now, these are typically your data analysts. They're a little bit more data savvy, okay? And these are the teams and individuals who will build reports. So this can be for their own teams or department, or there can be a center of excellence for the organization because it becomes the centralized sort of repository for report creation, maintenance, and monitoring. Now, this group typically will leverage Copilot. Again, features such as the natural language querying, so asking questions of the data, fine-tuning those metadatas to help the end users consume and gain the insights that they need out of the report. And lastly, we have the business user. So these are your frontline decision makers. These are executives that consume the report. So these are not necessarily builders, but they're more consumers or recipients of the report. And the focus use case for these specific persona would be to engage with the report. So again, being able to create automated reports or ask questions of the data to navigate the various sort of data information that's built within their Power BI report. So this can be done even on the mobile. So as of the April release of the Power BI mobile application, you can now have Copilot directly in the mobile app. So this is, again, hot off the press. This just happened, I think, 2 weeks ago. But now Copilot, you can actually query, if you do have a license, you can query your Power BI data directly from the mobile app. All right, so really exciting stuff here. Now, just before we go into our hands-on, I want to kind of walk you through, how Copilot is really enabling users to get more hands-on and more involved with data analytics. So basically, to help you build more valuable reports, Copilot can now engage in a numerous amounts of ways for you to get your data insight. Okay, so for example, a use case might be you might want to use a report might want to use Copilot to just create a simple report. So maybe you want to look at sales performance. Copilot, that can be just one prompt away for you to build some simple reports that will get you your end results for your data analytics. All right. So even if you're inexperienced, this is a great way to get you going with data analytics. If you are, again, if you're a novice in this area, this Copilot is really a great tool to help you with navigating sometimes the difficult waters of understanding data analytics and visualization overall. Okay. All right, so let's take a look here at some of the strengths and the limitations, right? No tool is perfect, and so I do want to highlight some of the things that you need to keep in mind. All right, so obviously some strengths. It's a time saver, and this is why we use AI tools. So it does support both the novice and the expert user, and it's great for just some quick insight. Okay, so that's the strengths. Now, the limitations is you may need to refine your prompts, okay? So again, your output is only going to be as your input. So as the old adage says, garbage in, garbage out. And what we've been finding with a lot of the Copilot adoption is that if you do not have consistent and congruent data or a good data governance program that controls the inputs of your data and manages the data transformation process to keep things hygienically clean from a data perspective, you will see that the outputs from the AI perspective and the prompts that you put, you'll get some hallucination in certain cases. All right. So again, it is imperative that your data model and what the AI is reading from is upkept and is basically adhering to best practice in terms of data modeling and data transformation and data governance overall. Okay. Now, let's take a look here before we go into our live demo, a little bit of a checklist that I've put together, and this will help as a part of the Copilot adoption if you haven't been leveraging Copilot. Number one, the semantic model, again, which I mentioned is the undergirding or the base of any report that you build. So it's going to be imperative that you are optimizing that model so that the AI or Copilot can actually read and then output or produce proper results. All right, and this is something that has been a bit of a steep hill to climb for many organizations because they have not gotten into a good cadence or rhythm of hygienically making sure that their data is always in good standing. So these are things such as making sure that you are correctly labeling columns and you have the right fields. Your data is not bloated with a bunch of duplicate fields and columns that mean the same thing. So you have to be intentional to ensure that the way that the data is constructed is also human friendly, right? So if it's more systemic naming conventions that's being used out of a system, this will not translate well for the AI. So having human naming conventions obviously bodes better. Secondly, make sure that there's a whole setup with Microsoft Copilot. You will need to have a Fabric license as well, so you can get more information about that on the Microsoft website. And you will need to ensure that for Power BI users, you will need to have a Fabric license to activate the Copilot capability. All right. So those are some of the key things here that you will need to keep in mind if you are looking to implement Copilot within your organization or within your teams. Okay, so let's take a look here. We do have a live demo, so we're going to just jump in right away. We're going to look through 4 key things. We're going to look at how we can basically create some simple reports by prompting Copilot directly in the Power BI desktop application. We want to see how we can automate the visual creation. We want to see how Copilot can help us construct DAX or data formulas. And then we're going to look at some of the smart narrative capabilities as well. All right, let's go. So I'm going to hop into my Power BI desktop here. Now, what I'm going to do here, team, is again, this is the Power BI desktop interface. If you're not aware, this is available free. You just search it up in powerbi.com and you'll be able to download this application for free. Albeit for the Copilot component, you will need to have the appropriate license. All right. So it all starts with the data. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fetch some data into my application here. So I'm going to just navigate over here. Ready to go. Oh, here we go. So I'm going to navigate over here to my global superstore data set. So this is just a fictitious retailer data set. And I'm going to take a look at the orders. So just one table. I'm going to take a preview here. You can see this is just giving me information on the orders for my global cycle reseller or retailer rather. So I have information on sales, quantity, I have discount, profit, shipping costs, and a few other columns here that we can use essentially to build a pretty good report. So I'm going to just load this directly into Power BI. All right, and what we're going to do here is once the data is available, before we can actually begin working within the Copilot space, we need to do a few things here from a settings perspective. So I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to head over to the Options and Settings. Then I'm going to head over to Options here. And what I'm going to do is I need to, as I mentioned, you need to have a Microsoft Fabric licensed workspace for this Copilot to be connected to your workspace in the cloud. All right. So here under the global settings at the very bottom, we have Copilot Preview. If I just click on that, what I will be required to do is by default, I need to tie this to a workspace that has the Copilot license attached to it. So here I'm going to select my workspace. I'm going to click on the drop down and you'll notice here I have a test workspace for our webinar today. All right, so this is a prerequisite. Once that's done, I'm going to click OK. All right, then I'm going to click OK and close. And that now connects me to my Copilot ready workspace. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go from the Home tab over here over to the far right. You can see we have the Copilot icon here. So keep in mind that you will need to be on the latest version. I think if you're on January 2026 or greater, you should be able to see this Copilot icon here as well. All right. Now there is another tool here, which is basically a tool that's been added over the recent months, which is to help to prepare your data for AI consumption. So think of it as a bit of a checker that will kind of scan your data model or your data tables to see if there are some best practices that are being employed, and it'll make some recommendations. All right. So here what we're going to do is we're going to just simply click on the Copilot icon, and this will open Copilot here to the right. Now I have my Copilot navigation or my Copilot activity window here. So right away, you can see that we have a few options that we can start to leverage. Right out of the box, we can create a new report page. We can suggest content for a new report. Okay, so it will basically read your table, so our orders table in this case, and it will build a report based on what it scans from that table. And then we can also answer questions about our data. So going back to that natural language querying. So these are kind of the three main areas, all right? And of course, you can, at the very bottom, you can simply just describe any element that you would like to create, just like you would any prompt with any AI tool, okay? So let's explore a few of these first. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to this one here to suggest content for our new report. So maybe you've just opened this up, you have an Excel spreadsheet that you've exported from your system, and you just want a starting point. So let's just see what Power BI with Copilot will cook up for us here. So I'm going to click Suggest Content. You can see that now it is actually scanning our data table. So if I were to take a quick pause here, what we can see happening is that it's basically taking a look at my orders table. It's scanning the orders table, looking at the fields, the rows, the columns, and the AI is then going to synthesize a report based on what we have there, all right? Okay, so with the magic of live webinar, you can see here, we have a suggestion here. So here is what it's suggesting based on the data that we have in our table. Now, if you have multiple tables, it will also take that into consideration as well. But we have one single table. So here it says here, there's a sales performance overview. We can do a profitability analysis, customer segmentation. And what you can do is if you expand on any of these here, it will give you just a brief overview as to, what it will create. So let's just go ahead with this sales performance overview. So it's going to create a page to analyze overall sales performance across different regions and time periods. Sounds pretty good to me. Let's go ahead and click on the create. And now this will begin sort of the work of creating or synthesizing the report. It's going to scan our data, and then it's going to give us some results here. All right, so there you have it. Now, let's take a look here. It's given us a report that looks pretty good, but as you can see here, for example, it didn't have the best selection for this chart here, right? So this is where, again, it has to do with how your data is constructed. And remember, you're not limited here. You can go back in and you can basically reprompt to fine tune any of the visuals that you see on this canvas here, right? So again, that's the benefit. Within a couple of seconds, I was able to construct this report. I should probably zoom in a little bit on this. Let me just minimize these panels here. All right, so if I wanted to actually edit, so this can be a starting point for me. This is, I didn't do a pretty good job at this chart, but here's what I can do. I can go on in to the canvas and I can actually begin to edit this chart if I needed to. All right, so that's the other option that I have. I could easily go in and I can edit this chart if I wanted to. So instead of doing maybe the year, shouldn't have that in the, I'm going to just make this here and maybe not the month number. So I can just use the month. Okay, or maybe not the month here. Let's go to the order date, or let's go with the month. All right, so there you have it. I can go ahead and edit that report as well if it doesn't quite get it right, right? So that is how you can construct a report, again, with just one simple prompt. You can see I have a slicer that gives me my sales summary. It's done a pretty good job at doing that, right? So just with one prompt, I'm able to have a whole report here that I can also go in and I can edit accordingly as well, right? So that's one use case, a very quick and easy one, which is just right out of the box. Again, there's additional suggestions that I could use. So here, there's also some additional reports, so profitability, and it will just create a whole new page that will create that report for me. So pretty interesting. Now, what's neat is that as it creates the report, if you wanted to see, what did it do, or what fields, or how did it construct this report, there is the option to see more. So if I click on that see more here, you can see it gives me all of the information that it's using to construct my report, right? So it gives you a bit of a summary telling us, hey, here's what I did and here's what I think based on the data that's within the table. And what's great is you can provide it with feedback. So, if this was a good report, you can give it a thumbs up, or if there was something wrong, you can say, well, I dislike this. And here's what you can do. You can let Microsoft know you got to fix this because your AI is doing a good job, or maybe it is, right? So you can also submit feedback directly here as well, so that they can refine the model as we go. All right. So that's another great way to see what is being done within your report, what fields are being used. But again, you can always edit that yourself as well. All right, so that's how you can create a very simple report. Let's go to a new page here. And what we're going to do here is we can also clear this chat. So at the very top here, we do have the clear chat, which will bring us back to this main menu here. Now, the second way that you can leverage Copilot within Power BI is to actually prompt information inside of the prompt window here, okay? So here at the very bottom, you can describe the report or the task or a question that you have, all right? And there's here an addition here where you can have it answer questions about the data, analyze a report visual, or create new reports or pages. All right, so this is where you can define how you want the Copilot AI to respond to your prompts. So we're going to leave all of them checked. And here's what we're going to do. I want to basically create my own report, but I want to prompt just by using the natural language query here to see if it can create the visuals that I need. So maybe I don't want it to create a whole report. Maybe there are specific visual or analysis that I need to create. So I'm going to ask the Copilot here for some assistance. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and I want to find out what are my top 5 cities by my sales, for my total sales. So I'm going to ask it here, are my top 5 cities by total sales? Okay. Now I'm just going to ask it a question here. I'm going to click enter or hit the send. And now you'll see that it will begin the working. It's checking the underlying data. And let's see what it returns here for us. Sometimes it does take some time just depending on the size of your data table or the model, but typically depending on, again, the license that you have, the more, I guess there are different tiers to the licensing, especially for data processing, so that will have an impact on the speed. So it's still kind of cooking, and then here, it looks like it's given us a result. So this is the result here. Now remember here, team, that this is built on top of your data. So it is then incumbent on you to ensure that labels, how your columns are labeled, again, that kind of prerequisite for having more legitimate and cleaner outputs. So here it says here, based on your data, your top 5 cities by total sales, which are actual fields inside of my data table, and now it's giving me the chart, okay? So what I can do with this, I can now click on add to page, or I can just click on this to expand the view, and this will just show me, a big view table of my query or my request. But I want to go ahead and click add to page. And what this will do is this will now add to my report. So this is a great way for me to build a specific report without having the know-how how to actually create that, right? I can leverage Copilot to help me build a sales summary report, all right? So let's keep going here. I have some other pre-baked scripts here, so prompts. So I'm gonna just add this prompt here, which is show me my customer segment profitability. Now I'm specifying what type of visual I want it to return. So I want to have my customer segment profitability in a card visual. I can tell it what visual I want it to render this information in. So I'm going to go ahead and click send. And then what we're going to do here is we'll wait and see. So you can start to see how important it is to label your fields and to ensure that the information is accurate. All right. And right away, it's added that information to my canvas here. So if you take a look at my report, now it's giving me the sum of my profits, right? So this is just, again, fantastic. And I can move these around as it basically creates this report for me. I can kind of shift and move things around, right? Now let's get one more. I'm gonna ask it to create a line graph. I want to see sort of over time, what does my sales look like? All right, so I'm gonna just add a prompt here. Show me a line chart. Again, I'm defining what I want as an output for the chart. Show me my line chart, a line chart of my total sales by month. All right, I'm gonna click enter, and it's now going to go in the kitchen and start cooking something up. Well, let's see what it brings up. So this should return a line chart with the months at the bottom so I can see over time what my sales look like. All right. And sure enough, here you can see we have our sales information now added here. Now, it hasn't really sorted this correctly, but that's fine. What I can do here is I can also get the Copilot summary here as well. We'll talk about that in a second. If I go to more, I can go ahead and just sort this information by month, right? And I should be able to sort this ascending. Now, right away, you notice, didn't quite get it right, right? So it's giving me the information, but the sort order is alphabetical and not based on calendar chronology, right? So what we need to do is this is where we can refine the prompt. So what I can say is here, to be a bit more specific, you can see that it's using the month field here, but maybe I want it to use the month based on the order date, for example. So here I'm going to just modify my prompt. Hopefully this works. Let's see. I want to say, show me my line chart by order date by order date month. Okay. So let's see if this works. So now I'm going to reprompt and let's see if it's able to register that. Okay. So this is where you can also uncover if your data is not cohesive, or if there are some gaps in your data. So here we can see it's giving me the date here. So it's giving me the order date, but because my data does not consist of the month for the order date, it's returning the actual date, right? So for every day, it's going to basically give me that sales amount. Okay, so not quite what I want, but what I can uncover is that there's something in my data that I need to now tweak. So this would now prompt me to go back to make some modifications to my data so that I can get the proper output. All right. So those are the two areas in which you can use Copilot. So we've shown how you can create whole entire generated reports. So based on the AI tool, being able to scan your data and to basically synthesize a whole report, as you see here for our sales performance overview, or we can apply simple prompts that will allow us to create our own report based on prompts that we supply to Copilot. All right. Now let's look at the third area in which you can use Copilot within the Power BI context, and that is to create calculated fields or values. So maybe you've brought in some data, but you need to enrich your data by adding some sort of formula or calculation. But gee, you know what? I don't know how to use DAX. Well, this is where Copilot comes in really handy. So we're going to head over here to the DAX query. The DAX query option here, just right of the window or right of the application, left of the application rather. So I'm going to click on that DAX query, and here you can see we have our little Copilot icon here, and this will now allow us to basically prompt or ask Copilot to create a formula for us. All right. So previously there were what's called quick measures. They were not necessarily tied to Copilot. It was just some rudimentary machine learning that was in Power BI natively. But now with the integration of Copilot, we can leverage the AI to generate an entire calculation for us. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just grab my prompt. Here, I want it to write a specific calculation. So here, I'm going to just click on my Copilot icon. And here, I can also suggest a measure. If I have maybe a calculation that somebody created, I can ask it to explain the topic. But here, I'm going to just put my prompt in. I want it to write a DAX calculation to calculate profit margin. And I'm also going to give it some hints. So, take my total profit divided by my total sales. And I'm going to click on send, and let's see what it can do. Okay, now it's saying something went wrong. So let's close the pane. And this is where it does get a bit finicky. So here we're going to go back to DAX. Let's try that again. And of course, in live production, it flops out on me. Nothing like a live demo that doesn't work, all right? But I promise you it does work. It's saying to exit Copilot, I'm not sure. Here, let's click on this again. And let's try this one more time. If not, then I guess we're not writing any DAX formulas here. All right, so let's try another way here. Since it's not taking, we're going to go over here. And if we go to quick measures, that's another way to do that. Home tab, click on the quick measures. Here you can see that we have the DAX. I'm going to go try now. It's going to take me back here, but I don't know why it's not working. Enter. Sorry, folks. Doesn't seem to be letting me work here. Let's try this one more time. Close, open, and let's see if this works. All right. And let's go send. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to demo the DAX part, but I promise you it does work. Maybe it just doesn't like me today. But essentially, this will create a DAX calculation based on what you've supplied to it. All right. So that's how you can leverage Copilot within the context of Power BI. And what's great about this is here, I'm just going to rename this report here, sales summary, is once you've created your reports, you can go ahead and publish this to the web like you would any Power BI report. So I'm going to go over here and it's going to prompt me to save. Okay. And here I'm going to say sales summary report. Okay. And here I can basically select where I want this file to be saved here. So I'm going to just go ahead and save it in one of my locations. Let's see where my folders are. I don't think I have one of my folders available. Let's go with this one here. And this will then publish inside of my test workspace, or you can publish it to your workspace. Now, you want to publish this to where the workspace that has your Power BI license, or not only your Power BI license, but your Copilot license. So that's the way it works, right? You need to have a Copilot license tied to your workspace, right? So here we have our test workspace. I'm going to go ahead and click select. And this will now publish my report, which was created by Copilot here, into the workspace online. So here now it's giving me that, it's letting me know that we've successfully published the report. Now I'm going to head over in to my online workspace here. And what I should see is once it opens up, it looks like it's asking me to authenticate here. So let me authenticate really quickly here. All right. So now once I've launched that, you can see here, here's my sales summary report. And this will be available. So now I can go in and this is where I can view this report online. So here's the report that was created in the desktop. I've now published it, completely created by Copilot. Now keep in mind that this is published to my workspace. This is a shared workspace. So if I head on over here to my workspaces, click on my test workspace. This needs to be, again, a workspace that is tied to a Microsoft Fabric capacity that has the Copilot license assigned. So you can always check if you have that by going to, if you have permissions, that is, if you go to the workspace settings in the top right, you'll see here that we have the option for workspace type. And here you can see this is a Fabric capacity. All right. So that's the caveat, is that you need to ensure that whatever workspace you publish or you want to create Copilot reports or prompting, it needs to be in a Fabric capacity that has a Copilot license assigned to it. All right. Outside of that, it won't work. So there's a bit of setup that needs to happen on that front as well. All right. So again, now that you have your reports, you can simply share your reports just like you would, with any Power BI report. So I can click here And now I can also export this out as well. So by clicking the share option, I'm able to share this across my team. So if I have team members here, I don't have anyone in the tenant. So you just type in the name of the groups or the teams that you would like to share this report with, and they will get access to this report as well. What's great is you can also set up subscriptions. So if you're not familiar with the Power BI online service, you are able to go into the subscription and create basically an automated email distribution. So for example, I'm going to create one here. I can have a standard one, which allows me to basically create a template for this report. So let's say that you create this report and you want it to go out to a certain segment or group of individuals, maybe a C-suite audience. You can create this subscription where you have a start date. You can specify an end date maybe, and then you can specify the cadence as to when it goes out. So this can be weekly, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 3 p.m. and select your time zone. Right. Once you hit save, essentially this will allow for you to basically create this subscription. And what will happen is whoever you've placed inside of the recipients, just like you would an email, they would gain access to the report, and they can, again, engage and interact with these reports that you have published and created. Furthermore, there is also the ability to create or to summarize with Copilot. Now, this is still in preview here, but if you do want to add this feature, again, you need to have this available as a part of the workspace, right? And so here, what we can add here, so whenever it's in preview, it's still sort of not in what's called general availability or a general release. But what this will allow you to do is it will include a AI-generated summary, which will update. So think of having basically a summary baked into this email, sort of mass email distribution. Okay, and what I can do here, just a little disclaimer there. So AI mistakes are possible. Make sure that you cover yourself there. A nice disclaimer, Microsoft, beautiful touch. But you can go to preview summary, and here it will begin to generate a summary by Copilot that will be basically accompany the report distribution. So when your report users open their email based on the schedule that you have prescribed here, it will also give them inside of the body of the email this summary here that gives them just a little blurb on some high-level overviews. So the customer segment generated a profit of, et cetera, and so on. Okay. So again, take this with a grain of salt. It's going to heavily be dependent on how well your data is structured. All right. So as I keep mentioning, garbage in, garbage out. And so it's going to be really incumbent on you for any AI tool, not just Copilot, to ensure that you have solid data models, good data governance practices and principles to ensure that the output that's produced by any AI tool, again, not just Copilot, is accurate or as accurate as can be. All right. So that's the summary that will accompany the email, which I think is really, really handy. And as these features improve over time, you can imagine that it'll only get better and better as well. All right. So those are some of the areas that you can use Copilot here. Again, within the Power BI online workspace, you do have the Copilot integration piece here. So here within the workspace, even after you have published your report, there are a few other quick recommendations. You can get more explanation out of your data. So by clicking the Copilot utility button here, you can ask what this report is about. So this will give you a little bit more insight. Again, a summary of what's underneath your data. And you can also do, for example, ask or answer questions about your data as well. So all of these are available both in the desktop and also inside of the web interface as well. And so as long as users have access to Copilot, if they have a license, they are able to leverage this AI companion as well to gain better insight out of the data, especially the information that you have produced in your report. So this is really, again, a handy tool for report adoption and for helping to bring clarity to the data that is being presented. All right. So that is the overview of Copilot and Power BI. And hopefully you can see, and you can probably maybe see some use cases, but keep in mind the important parts that, again, are going to be critical for any adoption. And I'll showcase this again, is make sure that you have good data semantic models, proper naming conventions, that you're actually tagging and naming and are intentional with how your data is constructed. Ensure that you're working very closely with your IT provider or those that will manage or steward your Copilot license to ensure that all of these Copilot setups are in place. And again, the best thing to do is just get your hands on it and just try. All right. So if your organization already has Copilot as a part of the suite of applications available to you, please just give it a shot, load some data, and see what you can create. All right.